This is part two as to why there are only two possible models of the Earth, and why one of them will be proven wrong when we go to Antarctica next month. Now, in part one, we discussed cardinal directions. If you missed that one, watch it first before you watch this one. Part two is one of my favorite topics, which is the final nail in the coffin for any model other than the globe or the AE model. And that is air travel. Air travel. My grandfather worked for Delta Airlines for my entire childhood. And so I grew up around airplanes and I find them incredibly fascinating. If you do not share my fascination with aviation, you will still find this argument extremely compelling. Dare I say, irrefutable? Now, both the globe side and flat earth side believe air travel, flights, prove their model. This is one reason I decided against using southern hemisphere flights as part of the final experiment. But what's important to understand here is that flights only work on these two models. Flight paths only work on the globe or the AE map. There are over 100,000 commercial flights per day in the world. That's a lot. So we have what feels like an infinite amount of data here, making it very easy to show which maps and models are accurate and which are not. Spoiler alert. Flights only work on the globe or the AE flat earth model. Nothing else. If you do not have a model that can account for the over 100,000 commercial flights we have each and every day, your model is completely bankrupt. And if you don't have a model, then you need to get with the times, because you've probably flown on an airplane before and you ended up where you were supposed to go, which means flights work. And if flights work, which they do, then you need a model that can account for them. If you don't have a model, then get to work. All the data is available for you for free. Any actual working model must be able to account for air travel and the flight paths that happen every single day. Let's look at just a few flights which easily demonstrate that east and west are circles. Meaning, if you head east indefinitely, you will end up where you started. And if you head west indefinitely, you will end up where you started. This is known as circumnavigation. And specifically, we're going to talk about east-west circumnavigation. So here are 5 flights that happen every day, which prove east-west circumnavigation. First is New York to Madrid. When you fly out of JFK, headed towards Spain, you head east and you fly over ocean almost the entire time, and you can see Portugal as you are on the descent for Madrid. Next is Madrid to Istanbul, Turkey. Again, this flight heads east out of Madrid. You will never see Portugal out the window because you are headed east out of Spain. And on your flight, you will cross over Italy and Greece before landing in Istanbul. Now, I've actually been to the Istanbul airport a handful of times, and it's one of the nicest airports in the world. Next is Istanbul to Beijing. Again, this flight heads east out of Turkey. You will never see Greece out the window on this flight. And this flight will cross a few smaller countries before crossing a majority of China before landing in Beijing, which is the capital of China. That is about an 8-hour flight. Next is Beijing to Tokyo. This is less than a 3-hour flight and crosses the Yellow Sea before crossing Korea, South Korea on this particular flight, before landing in Tokyo, the capital of Japan. And our final flight is Tokyo to Los Angeles. This is a 10-hour flight over the Pacific Ocean. After leaving Tokyo and heading east, the plane is shortly over the Pacific and remains over the Pacific the entire flight. And the first main body of land that will be seen on this flight is the left coast of the United States before landing at LAX. These 5 flights, daily flights that you can get on every day of the week, prove east-west circumnavigation. You fly east the entire time, from New York to Madrid to Istanbul to Beijing to Tokyo to Los Angeles, and you end up west of your starting point. Obviously, Los Angeles is west of New York. And there are many other routes which you can create east-west circumnavigation out of. Just take your pick. There is no refuting this. These flights happen every day, and they head east every day. And if you took all these flights that I showed, you would start in the United States and end in the United States. So any model, any working model must account for the fact that traveling east indefinitely brings you back to where you started. And only the globe model and the flat Earth AE model can account for this. As you recall, east and west on both of these models are concentric circles, where continuous travel in either direction would bring you back to where you started. Now it gets better. And this makes the argument from flights even stronger for these two models. There are flights that go north to go east and west because it's shorter. Yes, you heard that right. There are daily flights which actually head in a northerly direction, even though they want to travel to a location that is either east or west of the starting location. And this is undeniable proof that we either live on a globe or a flat Earth as laid out on the AE map. As a reminder, because economics is my area of expertise, airlines are in the business of making money and keeping their customers happy. If they don't do those two things, they will be out of business. So how do airlines make money? Well, to put it as simple as I can, they make money by keeping costs down, which allows them to keep prices down and stay competitive with other airlines. And in addition to staying competitive with their airfare pricing, they keep their patrons happy by getting them to their destination in the shortest amount of time safely possible. So how do they accomplish these two things? Very simple. By flying the shortest distance, which reduces the cost of fuel and gets the passengers to their destination quickest. Fuel is one of the largest, if not the largest, operating expense for an airline. And so there are some flights where it's actually shorter and more fuel efficient to travel northward to get to a destination that is due east or west of the place of origin. A perfect example of this is a daily flight from Los Angeles to Dubai, LAX to Dubai. Not only is Dubai east of Los Angeles, it's south of Los Angeles. Yes, this daily flight flies north to get to a destination that is both east and south of where they start. And this is because it's shorter to fly north to get there. And most importantly, any working model of our Earth must be able to account for these flights. And I'll keep repeating myself. Only the globe and flat Earth AE models can account for this. Here is the flight path from Flight Radar 24, which will look a little perplexing at first. And this is because the flight path, which is actually a straight line, is being displayed on a Mercator projection map. If this doesn't make sense to you, just hang on. It will make perfect sense shortly. By the way, I have a friend who is a pilot. I actually have multiple pilot friends, but this friend took this flight and he shared this with me from his actual flight. As you can see, this flight flies directly over the North Pole. Now, this makes perfect sense on the globe, and it makes perfect sense on the flat Earth AE model. In both models, flying over the North Pole is the shortest distance between these two destinations. Here is the actual route displayed on a globe, also known as a Great Circle Route. You can see that the flight path is in a straight line. And here is the actual route displayed on the AE map, also a straight line going over the North Pole. Again, if your model cannot account for flights that go north to reach destinations that are east and west, and sometimes even south of the origin, your model is wrong. We could spend hours looking at hundreds of flights, and they will all be the same. They will consistently show that they only work on the globe or the AE map. Now, I know people on the globe side claim to have flights which only work on a globe. And then there's people on the flat Earth side who claim to have flights that only work on a flat Earth. That is beside the point I am making with this video, which is simply that there are only two models which can make sense of cardinal directions and air travel: the globe and the flat Earth AE model. This means there are only two models. And here's the cool thing about the final experiment: it will falsify one of these two models. If there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, the AE model is falsified. The south in the AE model is pushed to the outer perimeter of the known world. And the sun, therefore, cannot circle the heads of people in Antarctica. If someone is here at Union Glacier, the sun cannot circle their heads while simultaneously circling the heads of those here at Scott Base, while simultaneously circling the heads of those here at Wolf's Fang. There will be people in all three of those locations during the final experiment in December. Now, if there is not a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, then the globe is falsified. And I'm not just saying this. Any glober will happily admit this to you. We know what the globe model demands, and the flat earthers also know what the globe model demands. And if it's not there, we will admit defeat. Flat earthers, will you do the same?